This is the Dover Download Podcast. My name is Christopher Parker, and for the past 25 years, I've had the pleasure of working with, learning from, and talking to a variety of volunteer, staff, and community members. This podcast explores conversations, activities, and a variety of policies and programs which exist here in Dover to improve the community in one way or another. It's hard to believe, but the summer has come to a proverbial close, although I contend, probably because I don't have kids in school anymore, that summer keeps going on through September, which is a beautiful month here in New Hampshire. But for all intents and purposes, summer goes when kids go back to school. And to celebrate that, Dr. Christine Boston is here to talk to us about what it's like to go back to school in 2026. Welcome.
Thank you.
How are you?
I am fantastic. We just welcomed 30 teachers back this morning, brand new staff, so it's a good day.
Is that an average amount of teachers to come back or to be new?
Yeah, I would say that's about average. We have over 300 teachers, teaching staff, so that's about 10%. That's about right with retirements and stuff, yeah.
And that's full district?
Full district, whole district. So 30 fresh, bright, shiny faces this morning. We're excited.
This wasn't going to be the focus of the podcast, but now I'm curious. When you're looking at 30 new folks, do you find that they are 30 just out of college ready to start, or do you get a lot of second careers, or how does that work?
All of the above. We definitely had, I would say, a few who are fresh out of grad school or, bachelor's degree and starting their career. And then we had people coming to us that want to work in Dover, who live in the community and are excited to get to teach here, or their own kids went through the system. So I feel like anecdotally, more than half were mid to late career in that group. So that's exciting to have experience coming here.
So the kids come back on the 1st?
Yes, September 1st.
And they will be fresh-faced.
Yes, they will.
Some will be rowdy. Some will be anxious. Some will be all of the above.
It's different standing at the high school greeting them coming back than at, say, Woodman Park.
I probably said this last year, but I'll say it again. My wife and I, on our fridge, we have this great picture, and we ended up using it for our son's high school graduation invite of his first day getting on the school bus. And that boy was not happy to go to school. He liked being at home half the day. He's a independent thinker, shall we say. And the picture, he wanted to kill me. As I took that picture. On the flip side, I'm sure there are kids out there that are just eager beavers to get to school.
Yeah, we have 4 boys. They're all adults now. And, I would say we were 50-50. Yeah. And even that, as they got older, maybe the first week to see friends and stuff like that, but that ebbed a little bit as we edged towards October. So I think that's normal. I mean, being home half a day sounds like a pretty good gig to me. So I don't blame him.
So for the listener who isn't a teacher, doesn't have that direct experience, the last day of school, is that it? Does everyone bug out and the buildings get mothballed for the summer and people go their separate ways?
Yeah, that's a great question. No, certainly the bulk of our staff do go home. Teachers have certain contract hours they're in the building and then, student contact time. But during the summer, they're on their own. They're doing a ton of planning. Like, I'll email someone and get a response right back. So they're certainly, doing things. Yeah. Teaching is not a 9-month career, I think, like some people might think. In the summer, we do have staff here for extended summer program for kids that need that. So we run an extended summer program that in a smaller district is the size of an elementary school, a couple hundred students who need support. So we will have 100 staff in the summer, paraeducators, specialists, teachers, special ed teachers, things like that. And they run a 4-week program. And then facilities and IT staff, this is their busy season. Yeah, right. They are amazing. I don't know how they're doing it, particularly with the field project at the high school, but they are making sure the buildings are, and this is the only profession where you shut down and open up every year like this, right? So they shut everything down. They take everything off the walls. They clean everything, repaint, clean every floor, wax every floor in the district. I have a note actually to pull up by the numbers section for my Boston brief in September to just see the square footage these people actually clean and maintain. Yep. And we've replaced our wireless access points this summer and all sorts of things. So even though there are fewer people and the pace is different, there are still plenty of staff around making sure we're ready for September 1st. That doesn't happen in a vacuum.
I think people in your romantic mind, you think the summer is so long. But in a situation like that, if you are a facilities team or as you mentioned, the IT team, and you only have a small window to get a lot of things done, and that September 1st or even today, when people get back into that classroom, they're like, why doesn't this work? Like, everyone has this expectation, and it's got to be a bit of a stressor on those folks to try to provide as close to that expectation as possible.
And they're seen, I think, as a support service. So, for example, we replaced every printer and copier in the district this summer. And it's a new process. It's a badge swipe process. There's a PIN involved with it. Yep. So, we're going to get, when people come back, I can't copy, my badge isn't working, or I don't know where to swipe my badge because the copiers are half the size of what they used to be. So not only is IT fixing things and upgrading things, they're communicating things at a really high level. So when a teacher comes back and they've got 4 days to prep their classroom and they need 800 copies of something, they know how to get that. But the first days can feel very stressed on IT staff, administrators. We want it to be perfect. But a former administrator that I worked with at the high school used to call it the miracle of the first day. No matter what, it's going to happen and it's going to be fine, and we're just going to roll with it. But we know a copier's not going to work or something like that. But IT right now, our IT director is looking at scheduling and projects for next summer. I feel like he's always almost 12 months ahead because that window is 3 months to really get projects done.
So you mentioned 30 new teachers. Are there any new administrators or deans along the way as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So Francis G. Hopkins School, we have Joseph Bassett. He's coming to us from Kittery, Maine. So he will be the new dean of students there. Dover Middle School, we have Laura Thompson. Laura was a science teacher at the middle school, and she's moved to an interim dean position there this year. So we're really excited to have her. Lisa McConnell will be the dean of student services, which is special education at the middle school. And she comes from Deerfield with a lot of experience. So we're excited to have her. And then Bellamy Academy, which is our alternative high school program, Eliza Coco. She was a principal at an elementary school in Somersworth, and she is edging towards retirement, but wanted a little change of pace. So, and Liza and I worked together years ago, probably 20 years ago, in out-of-district programs. So we're really lucky to have her come in and step into that program. So we've got, I think, 4 new administrators this year.
Any new programs? I know last year we talked about the cell phone ban that was just enacted. Is there anything along that scale that is going to be new for the administration and the students to tackle together?
Not on that scale. The one change that I think our families will feel, and I'll be sending out a communication about it, we're moving from Mealtime, which was our lunch portal. We're moving that to something called Campus Parent. It works directly with our student information system, which is Infinite Campus. And that's going to support real-time lunch balances, instant payments, debit, credit card, ACH transfer, which I know parents have really wanted instead of cash or check, right? Even more important, this would have been what I would have loved with my kids, itemized history. Yeah. I can go look and see what my kid is buying. So, I don't have to reach out to the school and go, how has my kid blown through $30 worth of lunch money in 2 days? Oh, look, here it is.
30 bags of Skittles. What?
Right. We don't sell Skittles, although that would be great for me. So I think a question parents would have about that is, what happens to my money in mealtime? Yeah. That rolls right over into the new portal. So it should be seamless, but we're making sure the back end of the house is clean and ready to go before we send out information to parents about it. This is really the start of us looking at how we collect fees. So we'll be looking at athletic fees in the future for this and things like that. So it can go right into the student portal. I'm not having to write a check. As a parent, I can, be on my cell phone or be on my computer at home and make the payment. The other thing about Campus Parent is it'll allow for automatic replenishment of lunch accounts. If you don't have kids like mine and you trust that to happen, you can redo that and not have to constantly think every Monday morning, like, does my kid have lunch money?
Right.
So I think that would be the biggest thing, but definitely not on the scale of the cell phone ban.
Looking back, how did that go?
That went better than we expected. There was I would say, a break-in period. It was an adjustment for all of us. And we decided if the kids were going without cell phones, we were doing it too. To the point, district administrators were issued a district cell phone instead of their personal phone, so that it's clear it's a district phone. They do have to carry it for emergency purposes. But even Mr. Driscoll, you'll notice he wears a watch now. He never used to wear a watch. That's because he doesn't carry his phone anymore. So much smoother. Library circulation went up, and the noise level in the cafeteria went up, which I think is actually a really good thing.
That's pretty cool.
Kids are talking to each other. And we put out an all-call to the community in places like send us your Uno games, your card games and stuff, because kids are interacting again. So by and large, it went well. I would say the pain point on this is headphones and music. That is something kids really want to do, but it means you're not engaging with the academic environment. So
do we see the return of boom boxes?
Oh, I don't know, right? Like that would be, they come with a boombox on their shoulder.
Exactly.
That would be awesome. No, I don't think so.
They'd be like, what are these cassette things?
No, I recently looked on eBay and they go for $200 now. So
and
pretty expensive.
Pretty funny. The average day for a middle schooler, what would that be like? And I recognize middle school is probably a bad school to ask because the difference between a 5th and 8th grader is pretty dramatic, if I recall.
It is. For a typical middle schooler, the building is much bigger than what you experience in elementary school. However, we try to make it feel smaller by having kids on teams. So your core classes, language arts, math, science, and social studies are on a core team. Those 4 teachers, your homeroom is with those teachers, and then you circulate among those 4 teachers in one hallway for classes. Your related arts are in different parts of the building. If you're a younger student, 5th grade, your teacher is going to walk you to related arts and pick you up from related arts and walk you to lunch and pick you up from lunch. If you are an older student, teachers are going to be on duty along the way, monitoring, but a little more freedom. But even though it's a bigger building, your core group of people is still maybe 6 staff.
How are you seeing enrollment trends these days?
Enrollment is, I would say kindergarten is as low as I have seen it.
Okay.
And that is something we're watching. We didn't fill a couple positions seeing that and anticipating that. We held them kind of to the side to see. I would say high school feels like it's the most stable, but that's also the place we're taking in students from other districts, right? Barrington, Nottingham, and our CTE program and our AP offerings and our athletics are a big draw. But definitely middle school and elementary school, particularly kindergarten, is lower. Interestingly enough, and I think you could probably explain this better than I can, Francis G. Hopkins School, max capacity there. Right? Garrison, less. And, I think that has to do with building trends in the community.
I was going to say, when you look at Garrison, it's probably in the most built out and least flexible. Ironically, Francis G. Hopkins is close in the sense that most of the conservation efforts over the past 25 years, the open large tracts are in the northern part of the city. And so that's been a priority area. But and I'll note to Mike Gillis, and maybe this is a future podcast topic, conservation efforts, willing landowners are less prevalent to come out.
Okay.
But to your point, we have seen over the past 15 years much more infill development, which tends to be Woodman Park, just thinking about where the district, Woodman and Horn Street, but it also tends to be less child creating types of development.
Yeah. And I think people would think like, what do building projects have to do with education? And we actually the business administrator will meet with people proposing new developments or whatever. And what we've seen recently, the last 2 I've looked at are very much like Point Place, anticipated maybe 1-2 students. It's not, I think just the birth rate is down after the pandemic. And then, people are, if they're buying a 2-bedroom or condo or whatever, maybe they're working from home and that second bedroom's an office type of thing. So we're just not seeing the students coming in like that.
Yeah. There's 2 or 3 demographic things that we see. The first is, we alluded to it earlier, you have 4 kids, I had 1. I'm a net loss. So my wife and I, there's 2 of us, we only had 1 child. So we're a loss on birth rate. So
Willing to carry the burden.
yeah, thank you. So that's one thing we see. The second thing we see is people have kids later in life.
Yeah.
And so that somewhat skews where they end up, because later in life, for a while, we were seeing in Dover people that would move into town when their kids were middle and high school aged. And then I remember in the Great Recession, what we saw was they might move to Dover, and previously maybe they sent their kids to a private school. And they said, oh, here's a pressure we can alleviate by using the publicly funded school we're already paying for.
Right.
And they took their kids out of. And then around 2012, when the recession had somewhat ebbed, we saw them re-enrolling.
Yes.
So there was this weird sort of back and forth. And I think we're still in that sort of yo-yo.
I remember seeing that. I was at the middle school at the time, and I remember we had one year where I believe it was almost 30 students coming in from private schools. So that's equivalent to a classroom.
Right.
And at the time at the middle school, we were about 1,100 students there.
Yeah.
We're now 900, if that gives you kind of a comparison. But I remember that shift in 2012, 2011, and thinking, where are these kids coming from? Like, how do you know? And they came into the middle school from the private schools.
And the third thing is exactly what you said, where developers are still building 2 and 3 bedroom units, but the people that are occupying them are using the second and third as office or spare rooms. I always wonder if it's a junk closet, and not as a kid's room, that they are, you're not seeing a change in the type of unit. You're seeing a change in who is occupying these units. And that while work from home has certainly ebbed in a lot of ways, it is not forgotten. It still is a thing, particularly on the tech and the private sector professional level. So speaking of tech and the private sector, I always find it fascinating, the relationship between college prep, general education, and the CTE programs, because I think they're all preparing kids for life after school, right? And I remember when I went to Dover High, it was the VOTEC program, and it was, oh, they're the VOTEC kids. And now you want to be in those
Absolutely.
It's great to see that sort of switch of, it's no longer they're in the career tech. They are the ones smoking cigarettes out back. It's now they're who I'm going to be looking for a job soon.
Yeah, and they're the person you're going to be calling when something's wrong with your home, you know, or, we have a biotech program now, and the students in that program last year won an award. They were generating, I can't remember if it was cartilage cells or something like that. I mean, this is going on in a high school. So, yeah, the opportunities there. When I first started at the high school years ago, it felt like being the mayor of a small city.
Yeah.
You have an auto shop and you have all these things, but because of the build and because of the support the community put behind that building and the programs, we have state-of-the-art career technical center programs. My own son went through electrical and the firefighting program. He walked out of high school with a job that his salary almost rivaled mine at that point. And the experience the kids can get, they can try things on, which is great because it's not costing them anything. So if you want to take an exploratory class before you spend 4 years doing it in college or whatever, but they've set themselves up well when they leave us for that.
You mentioned the firefighting program, and that's been a great feeder for us here in the city, is getting quality applicants who have already got a leg up because they've gone through that process.
And we need more career firefighters. Gone are the days of the volunteer fire department. That doesn't exist anymore. And we need these people. So
having gone 4 weeks without a dishwasher because I can't find a repair tech, we need a lot of the trades.
Yeah.
As we wrap up, what message should kids or parents, presuming that their parents are the ones listening and not kids, really be taking as they come into the buildings and come back to school? Is there maybe not just a blanket welcome back, but something that they need to be thinking about as they come on back to school?
I'll go back to the strategic pillars. I'm really proud of the pillars and proud of the work we've done with those. This is not a plan that's collecting dust on a shelf. We saw last year that Dover was recognized for outpacing its peers in recovery academically after the pandemic. We just spent 2 days as a leadership team reviewing data, not just academic data, but climate and culture data. So we're continuing to strengthen our systems that help us identify student needs and get the kids the right-sized intervention when they need it. And I think that's the big takeaway. It is not perfect yet, but we're not going to let perfect be the enemy of good. And there are a lot of amazing things happening here. Some of this, if parents watch the board meeting in September, they'll see this with our data. But we've got some of our subgroups outpacing our general population in academic achievement right now and gaining ground. So we're proud of that. We're excited to see that. And then we've got some areas that we're like, not sure why that's happening. We need to look at that. But we're in the place of we know exactly where we are. And that feels really good to know where we are and to start to be able to do something about it.
I'll remind you, as I remind everyone, the only thing perfect in this world is my wife. So don't worry about not being able to be perfect.
My husband would tell you it's his wife.
That is a smart husband. I say that. My wife doesn't even listen to this. Mostly because I don't tell her I do it. Appreciate you coming by. I always enjoy our conversations.
Likewise.
And, congratulations on the year, and looking forward to your second year in your role, but also overseeing the schools.
Awesome. Thanks. Great to talk to you.
Enjoy the day. Dover has a wealth of history in its over 400 years of existence. Coming up, Mike Gillis is going to share some of that history with us.
This week in 1999, nearly 100 teachers and staff got their first look at the new middle school under construction on Daly Drive. The $15 million state-of-the-art facility represented countless hours of work by the Joint Building Committee and a facilities task force. The teachers on the tour of the new school could barely contain their excitement as they were shown room after room. The new 160,000 square foot building was scheduled for completion on December 1st, 1999, with plans to open to students on January 3rd, 2000, after an extended holiday break. This would allow time for furnishings to be moved in and for teachers to get acclimated to their new classrooms and workspace. The tour on September 1st gave teachers and staff a sneak peek at what the finished school would look like in just a few short months. The new middle school was desperately needed, replacing the outdated former Dover High School building constructed in 1934. That building would later become the McConnell Center once the middle school moved out. The case for building a new middle school began years earlier. The old school lacked many modern amenities and had ongoing maintenance issues. The district recognized the need for a fully upgraded facility to provide students with the best possible learning environment utilizing the latest technology and design features. Some of the highlights of the building included a 190-seat Renaissance theater with padded seats and audiovisual capabilities. Each classroom had a telephone for safety and security. The gymnasium impressed all with its size and acoustics designed so speakers could be easily heard. Librarian Elsie Domingo was ecstatic to see the space planned for the library, saying, quote, "It's an area to encourage readability, a pleasant space for both students and staff." She had provided input on the design months earlier and was thrilled to see the plans come to fruition. While a few minor issues came up with the phone and computer systems initially, the school was essentially complete structurally by September. The main tasks were finishing touches like flooring, paint, bathroom fixtures, and other cosmetic elements. The local community was also eager to tour the new facility, prompting the administration to work up plans for public open houses. The ribbon-cutting ceremony on December 11, 1999, gave a preview to officials, volunteers, and students. Despite a few last-minute hang-ups, the school opened on schedule in January 2000. It still serves Dover's middle school students today.
Thanks for listening to the Dover Download this week. If you like what you heard, subscribe through your favorite podcast aggregator. And if you have something you want to hear a topic on, let us know. Finally, this is just one of the many ways we share information about the city of Dover. You can subscribe to the Dover Downloads email newsletter every week or other newsletters that we have by going to the City of Dover homepage, www.dover.nh.gov. Have a great week.